Thank you so much for joining me today as we read through our book, Aven Green Baking Machine. Each night we're going to be reading through some chapters of this wonderful book. So come on, sit back, get comfortable, and let's read.
Chapter 4, Buns of Steel. I told you I'd explain it. Mom stormed into the kitchen. What on earth is going on in here? She asked. Why is Sujita on Aven's room crying right now? Emily and Kayla and I all looked at one another. We weren't laughing anymore. I shrugged. Sujita said she wanted to make a dessert called milk barfi, and we said we didn't want to eat it because it sounded like milk barf. Oh, did Mom look mad? She crossed her arms and tapped her foot. Oh, really? Have you ever tried milk barfi before? Emily, Kayla, and I sheepishly shook our heads. Mom nodded. That's what I thought. Did you ask Sujita what's in it? Or what it actually tastes like? Or why it's important to her? No. We did not ask any of those particular questions, I said. Emily raised her hand like we were in school. Oh, there is something called lard bomb in it. Mom gave Emily a look that said she had no idea what Emily was talking about. She sighed and uncrossed her arms. I want the three of you to go in there right this minute and apologize for being so insensitive. Sujita is your friend, and we don't treat our friends like that, especially when it comes to things we don't understand. We all three walked into my bedroom. Sujita was sitting on the bed with one of my pillows squeezed to her chest. She wiped at her cheek. I plopped down next to her. We're sorry, I said. Kayla nodded. Yeah, we shouldn't have laughed about the milk barfi just because it has a funny name. We haven't even tried it yet. We can see how badly we hurt your feelings. Emily smiled. Yeah, we wouldn't even know if it actually tastes like barf until we try it, she said, patting Sujita on the back. And I bet it doesn't even taste like barf at all. Sujita wiped her eyes. It doesn't, she said softly. It tastes like fudge. Fudge? I cried. Fudge is one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. Sujita smiled. So can we still make it? Let's make it right this very minute, I declared. So the three of us went back into the kitchen, and Sujita took the rest of her ingredients. Since we had to use the stove to make the milk barfi, Mom supervised us. She said she didn't want us to burn the house down. Sujita melted the ghee butter stuff in the pot, and Emily stirred milk into it. Then Kayla added the milk powder and sugar, and I sat up in the kitchen counter and whisked and whisked and whisked with the whisker of my feet. I tell you what, whisking with my feet is the best exercise I ever get in my life. Mom has this exercise video, Buns of Steel, and I thought there was a real good chance my buns were turning to steel right there on the kitchen counter. We sprinkled in the cardamom, not lard bomb, and then we smushed it into a pan with our hands and feet, and Sujita said we had to wait a few hours to eat it, but I could hardly wait. It smelled like spicy heaven, and not at all like barf. Chapter 5, Lots of Refrigerating, No Baking. My choice next, I declared. I can't wait to tell them what I wanted to make. They would be so impressed. I called Mom back into the kitchen so she could help me do my reveal just like we rehearsed. She brought a big rolled up poster board. I had drawn a giant picture of my dessert on it. And now, I declared as my mom slowly began to unroll the poster board, announcing the greatest dessert anyone has ever even heard of. I nodded at Mom because she was unrolling too slowly. She unrolled the rest and held it up. Mint chocolate chip pie! All three girls clapped because who wouldn't clap for something called mint chocolate chip pie? People with very bad taste, that's who. And my friends clearly had great taste in desserts, even if they weren't super tasters like me. While we whipped up the mint chocolate pie filling, I told them the baking contest has 10 judges who are the best bakers and eaters. One of them even won first place last year with something called a pandowdy. And we laughed, of course, because pandowdy is hilarious of a name that sounds kind of like pants duty, and who would want to eat pants duty? After we poured all the mint chocolate pie filling into the pie crust, I said, it has to go into the fridge for a few hours, just like the milk parfait. I hope those judges are wearing an extra pair of socks. Why? Asked Sujita. Because this dessert is going to knock their socks right off, I declared. Then we started making Emily's peachy floof, which I thought was the best name for the dessert ever. It's called peachy floof, Emily kept telling us. I got the idea from a cooking show and made some changes so it would be an original Emily dessert. I was still totally going to call it peachy floof because it was a way better name. And you know what was so funny? It used a lot of the same ingredients as my recipe for mint chocolate chip pie, except it didn't have mint or chocolate chips or pie in it. We whipped and folded all the peachy floof ingredients together and stuck it in the fridge. Folding, in this instance, just means mixing very slowly and has nothing to do with a paper planes or laundry or anything like that. Now we have to wait for it to harden up, said Emily. I never realized baking took so much refrigeration, I said. Kayla crossed her arms. It shouldn't, she said. We haven't actually baked anything yet. We all looked at one another because Kayla was right. When Mom filled out the form to enter the 4 of us into the contest, the rules said just had to be an original dessert, I said. The rules didn't say the dessert had to be baked in an actual oven. Kayla tapped her foot. Still, it is a baking contest. Don't you think it's time we actually bake something? She said. Sure, I said. Let's bake something instead of sticking it in the fridge.
Thank you so much for joining me today as we read through our book together as a school, Aven Green Baking Machine. Come back and join us again tomorrow. Have a great night and go Hawks!